Can you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, you can share the screen, sir. So let me introduce everybody. Very good morning. My pleasure to introduce Dr. Satish Tiwari. He is the president of IYCF chapter of IAP and very big advocate of IYCF, optimal IYCF practices. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing time for us today, and really we look forward to hear you. I'm so sorry, I have to leave today for another meeting, so I will join you back uh, uh, close to your session. So we can start the session now. I hope all of you have joined. All the participants have joined. And Nikita, can we start the session, please?
If you would like to check with your
I'm not being able to hear you, sir, still. So it would be good, sir, if you can log out and then log in again, so that perhaps will help you. And your screen is also still not visible.
That's fine. Now, can you see?
Yes, sir, I can see you and I can hear you also. You
Okay. Can you see the slides?
not, sir, still it is coming.
Slides are not visible.
No, sir, not yet. Sir, if you can switch off your video, perhaps it can help. Nikita, can you see the slides, sir, slides?
Ma'am, it is showing that content is being shared.
Yeah, but it is still not visible, right?
Not visible as of now.
Yeah.
Yes. बंद करके फिर से
Yes, sir. I can see the slides now.
Lights now. Okay, just we'll check video also.
That the baby has cried and started breathing well.
Can you see the video now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So from my side, I am ready. You just inform whenever we want to start.
We can start right away, sir.
Okay. So thanks, Dr. Jyoti, Madam, and thanks the Public Health Foundation of India for giving this opportunity to discuss something very basic about the breastfeeding and its role in the child nutrition and maternal nutrition. So as suggested by Jyoti Madam, we will be discussing overall overview of the breastfeeding, what it was yesterday, today, and what will be tomorrow. We will not be discussing the details. Details will be there subsequently in the various lectures. As we know, the breastfeeding is a single word, meaning that the child is connected to the mother even after the birth of the child. We all know that mother's milk is tailor-made as per the need of the baby and the offspring. So whether it is a human being or any other mammals, the milk is as per the need of the baby of that particular mammal. That is what we call the milk is species specific. Now to understand it in a better way, the species specific means the protein content are as per the need of the body growth or as per the need of that particular offspring. So human milk or the breast milk contains 1 gram of protein per 100 ml. Cow's milk has 3 grams per 100 ml. Buffalo's milk has 4 grams per 100 ml. And rabbit milk has 15 grams per 100 ml. So this is why the rabbit's offspring, it doubles weight in 6 days. And we all know the human baby weight doubles in 5 to 6 months. So that's why the mammalian milk is species specific as well as gestation specific. Now, as far as milk secretion is concerned, we try to understand two basic reflexes. One is prolactin reflex and second is oxytocin reflex. Now, prolactin, that is responsible for milk secretion. The factors which enhance the reflex is complete emptying of the breast. So this is very important factor, because if the breast is not completely emptied each time, then the message goes to the brain that there is a milk stored in the breast and there is no need to secrete the milk because baby will not remain hungry. There is a milk for the next feeding. Then of course another important factor is suckling at the breast. So more the child suckles, more will be the secretion of the milk. And then of course the expression of the breast, because again if the milk is not expressed and it remains in the breast, the negative impulse will go to the brain. Night feeds are equally important to enhance the breast milk secretion. The factors which hinder the breast milk secretion is incorrect positioning. So if the position is not proper, painful breastfeeding or bottle feeding. So you can see this photograph. In blood, it gives a message to the brain that the milk needs to be secreted. And then there is a sensory input from the nipple also when the baby sucks. The second is the oxytocin reflex or the laid down reflex, which helps in the ejection of the milk. The factors which increase the oxytocin reflex or the laid down of the milk, it includes thinking lovingly of the baby, the confidence of the mother, the sound of the baby, and even sight of the baby. So that's why we say the mother and child should be kept together, and the skin to skin contact or sight of the baby is very important for the mother. The factors which will decrease the oxytocin or let down are pain, worry in the mind of the mother, stress, or if she has a doubt about her abilities of breastfeeding. So the confidence of mother is very important. In short, as we discussed that today we'll be discussing in short about the breastfeeding, and then subsequent classes we'll have the detailed discussion. So if you want to summarize the importance of breastfeeding, it is natural, instinctive, and physiological. As we discussed, it is species and gestation specific, free from contamination and adulteration. It is at the desired temperature, so no need for boiling. There is no exposure to foreign protein, no need to calculate. It's cost effective. The lactational amenorrhea helps in child spacing. Postpartum involution of uterus is better. The body figure is restored. Now, many mothers have the confusion that breastfeeding will result in the destruction of body figure. But please remember, it is not the breastfeeding which changes body figure. It is the pregnancy which changes the body figure. So if some women, they want to maintain the body figure, they have to avoid pregnancy and not the breastfeeding. Breastfeeding also protects from breast and ovarian and uterine malignancy. Immunological advantages of breast milk. It's very important, especially now in the corona pandemic, or we know that in our country there are many infectious diseases still prevalent. So, for all practical purposes, the breast milk is also known as white blood or the first vaccine for the baby. It contains IgA, IgG, IgM, especially more in the cholesterol, which helps in preventing the GIT and respiratory infection. The various cells which are present in the breast milk are macrophage, lymphocytes, and polymorphs. Complement activator factors C3 and C4, lysozyme, lactoferrin, and lactoperoxidase, which help in the destruction of the microorganism or lysis of the microorganism. There are specific inhibitors for many viruses and staphylococcus. There is a growth factor for Lactobacillus bifidus, which again helps in prevention of GIT infection. And there is para-aminobenzoic acid, which protects against the malaria. So if you want to summarize all these immunological advantages, you can see the photograph attached on this slide. The formula has very few things like minerals, vitamin, fat, DHA, etc. But the breast milk contains antibodies, various hormones, antiviruses, anti-allergies, antiparasites, growth factors, etc., which we have already seen. Another advantage of breastfeeding is it rightly tackles the child undernutrition and malnutrition. If you look at the photograph again, the various causes of childhood mortality, if you look at the slide, this maximum is acute respiratory infection and diarrhea, almost 19 and 19%, so 38%. The perinatal causes around 18%, the others about 32%. And if you look at the basic background of all these, in all these causes, the 55% mortality is there if it is malnutrition is there associated with it. So the breastfeeding will prevent the undernutrition or malnutrition. Another importance of breastfeeding, it enhances brain development. We all know the brain develops in first 2 years of the life. Depends on amount of interaction, and while breastfeeding, mother can interact with the child, so that stimulates the breastfeeding, enhances the brain development. The breastfeeding also contributes to IQ, the visual acuity, mathematical abilities, and of course the analytical capability. And there are evidence for all these. Scientific evidences are available. We'll go into the details again in the subsequent lectures. So overall, it enhances the intellectual capacity and prepares the children for better learning in the future. Breastfeeding prevents obesity and later adulthood diseases, prevents childhood obesity and later non-communicable diseases, including diabetes and cardiac problem. Again, there are sufficient evidences available. We can go for the details. 15% of urban population is now projected as obese. In United States of America, the breastfeeding is promoted as #1 preventive intervention, along with the decreased TV viewing or the exercise by the child. If we cannot prevent obesity, then of course the treatment costs are horrible and unaffordable even by countries like America and England. It is very important to prevent the obesity. The other diseases which are also prevented by the breastfeeding is asthma, the ear infections, chronic celiac disease. The lactational amenorrhea will help in child spacing. The postpartum bleeding decreases, and uterine and ovarian cancers are less in them. Unfortunately, in spite of so many evidences of the benefits of breastfeeding, you can see this working mother. She is carrying the baby, but at the same time, she is also carrying the powder milk or the formula milk. So whatever hard-earned money of this mother may be, she is wasting it in the formula feeding by not breastfeeding the child. So for all practical purposes, if we see the summary of what we discussed in first 5 or 6 slides, breastfeeding was the best, is the best, and will remain the best as far as infant feeding is concerned. As Jyoti Madam was saying, the optimal infant and young child feeding practices include starting breastfeeding immediately after birth, preferably within the 1 hour that is known as golden hour. Exclusive breastfeeding for first 6 months, and after first 6 months, continue breastfeeding minimum up to 2 years or even beyond we can give. And after 6 months, there has to be appropriate and adequate complementary feeding after the 180 days. So first 1,000 days in the life of each and every individual are important. Now these first 1,000 days, it includes 270 days of antenatal life, 365 days first and 365 days second year, so total 1000 days. It is a critical window of opportunity, reduces childhood disease and deaths, so mortality and morbidity, and it improves the performance by affecting the physical and mental growth of the individual. So as we discussed, the preparation for adequate infant and young child nutrition, the establishment of proper IYCF practices. It does not start after the birth of the child, but it starts in the antenatal period or antenatal care. What we have to do during antenatal period, motivate the mothers, especially those who are undecided about the breastfeeding, and of course their relatives. The confidence of the mother, including the confidence of the doctors, is very important. It's really unfortunate to say that most of the doctors, including the obstetrician, physicians, pediatricians, general practitioners, they themselves are not confident about the mother's ability to breastfeed her baby. So we have to increase the confidence of the mother, relatives, and of course the treating physician or obstetrician. The information and education about best practices for the infant and young child nutrition has to be given to the mother. If there is a flat or retracted nipple, we should note it down so that we are careful at the time of delivery. There is no need to treat now retracted nipple in the antenatal period. Many times it gets corrected at the time of delivery or after the delivery, or then we can do the treatment after the birth of the baby. We avoid treating the retracted nipple in the antenatal period because the stimulus to the nipple can result into premature delivery. Avoid vigorous cleaning of the breast can many times result into drying and cracking of the nipple. If the nipples are already cracked or if there is some problem, then of course take care of that nipple and we can treat it if it requires treatment in the antenatal period. You have to tell the mothers about the details of the breastfeeding and child nutrition in 1 or 2 visits during antenatal period, and overall convince her that you are there if she has any problem after the birth of the baby. So confidence building is really important in the antenatal period. Now when to start breastfeeding after birth? We have already discussed. It should be started as early as possible, and you can see how the breastfeeding can be started. This video is there. This is known as breast crawl. So how the baby crawls towards the breast and how he starts sucking. So let us see this
The
video.
baby has cried and started breathing well.
कितना खूबसूरत है देखा आपने कितनी खूबसूरत देखा
He is shown to the mother and kept close to her with a cheek-to-cheek contact. This helps the mother to kiss the baby and also facilitates the local custom of saying a holy message in baby's ear. Subsequently, baby is kept prone in between the breasts. All care should be taken to prevent the baby from falling. If the weather is cold, then baby should be covered with a warm cloth. Baby is very alert soon after delivery, and hence is at its instinctive best. Baby is also kept warm, being in close contact with the mother. Baby is also prevented from future infections because she starts acquiring healthy germs which will colonize her skin and intestines. Thus, this position ensures early instinctive stimulation and gives warmth, love, security, and also food. It also initiates bonding process between the baby and the mother. Kicks will give tender, firm jerks to the wound, stimulating it to contract. This will help to expel placenta and reduce bleeding. Once baby realizes that food is in close proximity, it starts salivating. Smell is a strong stimulus which drives the baby towards the nipple. Baby's smell sensation is well developed. Smell of a chemical on nipples is similar to the smell of a chemical in amniotic fluid, which surrounds the baby in the womb. Mouthing movements start. Her shoulder, hip, and neck muscles are sufficiently developed to help her move. Baby with her limited vision can see the areola. If baby raises her head, it can also see mother's face. Baby has reached the nipple, has raised her head, and has nicely lashed in with wide open mouth and mouth full of breast. What a beautiful moment of joy.
So this is how baby can be fed on the delivery table
That the
itself.
baby has cried.
Then of course, once the baby is delivered and the regular feeding, we have to keep in mind the feeding cues. That is, there will be early feeding cues, which includes the sucking movements or suckling sounds, the hand and mouth movement by the baby, the rapid eye movements, the soft cooing or sighing sounds, and restlessness. So after 2 to 2.5 hours of the previous feeding, once this movement starts, we should think of feeding the baby again. The arousing of infant is by removing the blanket if he is having one, can manipulate the clothing, change the diaper, place the infant in skin to skin contact, and massage the infant back and abdomen. Please remember, crying is a late feeding cue and may interfere with the feeding. The important thing while feeding the child is the pattern of positioning of the baby. Again, this may be discussed in the subsequent classes, but please remember there can be cradle hold, the football hold, the side lying hold, cross cradle hold, and underarm hold, which is important for twins, mothers with blocked duct, or in those babies where there is difficulty in attaching the baby. Some important features of the proper position and attachment. You can see this photograph again. There are two pictures. The picture one is good attachment and picture two is bad attachment where there is only nipple sucking. So while feeding the baby, the areola should be in the mouth of the baby. So mouth should be wide open. Most of the part of areola should be into the mouth. So mouth full of breast. Lower lip should be everted outwards and chin should be touching the breast. Another important points in proper position or attachment are baby's head and body should be in a straight line. Baby should be turned towards the mother. So baby should be facing towards the abdomen of the mother and of course the chest of the mother. Mother should hold the baby close to her body that promotes skin to skin contact. Baby's neck, back, buttock should be well supported and they should be in a straight line. A very important issue about the breastfeeding is adequacy of the milk. Not only mothers, but many times the relatives and many times the physicians, pediatricians, doctors, obstetricians, they do not try to listen to the mother. They do not try to convince to the mother whether she has adequate milk or not. And once the mother says that she feels she has inadequate milk, we immediately start the formula milk or the animal milk. But before doing or before giving the extra milk or the top milk, please confirm the adequacy of milk and inform the mother that if the child is passing urine more than 6 times in 24 hours, if the baby is active and playful, there is spontaneous release of the breast, then baby is getting adequate milk. Please remember, crying during the night hours is normal because when the baby is in the uterus, during daytime, mother is working, she is moving here and there. So baby who is in the uterus, he gets the swinging movement and he is sleeping or taking rest inside the uterus for 9 months. And during the night, when mother goes for the sleep after her work, then the baby, the swinging movements are not there and the baby is awake and probably crying in the uterus. So this 9 months habit is there of sleeping during the day and remaining awake or crying during the night. And of course, the most important objective test of adequacy of milk is proper weight gain. We say in first 6 months, if the baby is gaining 500 to 600 grams weight or more than that, that means the baby is getting adequate milk. Then of course, we should know the concept of foremilk, that is during each feeding, the initial milk which comes out of the breast is known as foremilk. It contains more of water and carbohydrate, so that helps in quenching the thirst of the baby. And the hind milk which comes at the end of the feeding or at the later part of the each feeding contains more of proteins and fat, so it helps in the amount of the milk and milk protein and carbohydrates, so it helps in the body building or the growth of the body. Then of course, nipple confusion, this is the word usually used in while describing the disadvantage of bottle feeding, because in bottle, once you just turn the bottle upside down, the milk automatically flows from the nipple. Baby does not have to make any effort or suck at the bottle. But when the baby is sucking at the breast, he has to make all the efforts to extract or express the milk from the breast. So breastfeeding is more difficult for the child, and that's why once you start giving bottle, which is easier for the baby to feed, he avoids breastfeeding. So even a few bottle feeds can result into avoidance of breastfeeding. Now, very important word is relactation. That means in any lactating mother, if for any reasons we have decreased the breastfeeding or we have avoided the breastfeeding for few days or few times, the next time the milk will go on decreasing, and then the people advise that mother has less milk and you start the top feeding or you start the complementary feeding. So in such situation, if the mother goes to a proper activist who supports breastfeeding practices, then we can relactate or we can increase the milk secretion. As we said, the complete emptying of the breast, more feeding at the breast. So suckling stimulates the breast milk secretion. And of course, we know the concept of induced lactation also. So if a mother has adopted a baby, if the mother is dead and there are some other mothers in the family, like it may be aunt or the grandmother, who can feed the baby. And then now in the present era of surrogacy, those who have got babies by surrogacy, they can feed the baby by what we call as induced lactation. So lactation can be induced in mother by repeated suckling at the breast, repeated feeding to the baby, skin to skin contact, and of course we can give medicines like domperidone or perinom, etc. As we discussed, the breast milk is gestation specific. So preterm or low birth weight babies, they get special milk as per the nutritional requirement. Meeting their unique needs is a challenging task. The gastrointestinal immaturity, inability to coordinate breathing, sucking, and swallowing, low esophageal sphincter pressure, so regurgitation is more. There is a delayed gastric emptying, slower upper and lower intestinal motility, and immature digestion. So all this can be taken care by the proper breastfeeding rather than the formula feeding or animal milk. Minimal enteral nutrition with breast milk is important even at low volume. So even 1 to 2 ml of milk will give what is known as gut priming. This is always beneficial for the baby, especially the preterm baby. This stimulates gastrointestinal function, including the maintaining of mucosal mass, function, supporting fluid and electrolyte balance, and of course the immunological. So monitoring of infants' nutrition is important to ensure that breast milk is meeting the infant needs, and weight gain is also the primary goal for optimal nutrition in preterm babies. Very important issue. Are there any contraindications for breastfeeding? As you can see, if someone asks, is there absolute contraindication? Then there is a big question mark. So there are, for all practical purposes, there are no absolute contraindication. So most of the contraindications are relative contraindications, including HIV and AIDS. Postpartum psychosis, we can always give supervised breastfeeding. Critically or seriously ill mother, like if she has congestive cardiac failure, chronic renal failure, acute renal failure, hepatitis B, mastitis, sepsis, all these, they are relative contraindications. They are not absolute contraindications. Drugs like radioactive, anti-malignant, antithyroid, and even tetracycline, they are relative contraindications. Only one of the absolute contraindication we can say is galactosemia. So galactosemia needs absolute contraindication. All other contraindications are related. Now, as far as lactose intolerance is concerned, the lactose intolerance, unless and until it is very severe and primary, that means there is absence of the lactase enzyme, complete absence of lactase enzyme, then only it is contraindicated. That is most probably in primary lactose intolerance. But please remember, lactose intolerance most of the times is secondary. And of course, if there is a proved lactose intolerance, we can give the breastfeeding and continue the breastfeeding. So only lactose intolerance, which is secondary, is not a contraindication. We can, of course, supplement the lactase enzyme to the breastfed baby also. And again, very big question marks. You can see 2 or 3 question marks. Inadequate milk. Is it a contraindication for breastfeeding? Because many times we see whenever mother says, I had less milk, doctor told me to give the top feeding or the formula milk or the animal milk. We already discussed, we will not again go on repeating the same thing. If the milk is inadequate, first thing is you have to confirm whether the child is not passing adequate urine, whether he is not gaining proper weight. That is the first thing we should do. If for any reason we feel that the milk is inadequate, the first thing is to increase the milk secretion, and best way to increase the milk secretion we already discussed is increase the suckling at the breast. So more frequent feeding, and of course the complete emptying of the breast each time the mother feeds. So that will increase the milk secretion. And of course we can give drugs like domperidone. For working mothers, is one of the important reason for declining in the breastfeeding practices. And as we discussed, the working mother's success as far as breastfeeding is concerned again depends on her confidence about feeding capabilities. So it requires a careful planning and firm determination not only on the part of doctors but mothers as well as the relatives. Of course, the government provisions are there for maternity leave, 6 months maternity leave, 2 years of child care leave, and now we have the 2 to 4 weeks of paternity leave also. So working mothers should express the milk more often, every 2 to 3 hours. Expression by hand is cheap and convenient. Keep 3 to 4 steel balls or plates, washed clean plate. Mother can breastfeed just before leaving for work, and she can soon feed the baby after coming back to home. During her absence, the express milk can be fed by the caregiver. During working, if she can carry the baby, she can carry the baby to the workplace, or she should express every 3 to 4 hourly to avoid engorgement and continue the milk production. We all know now there are government directives. We have the Hirkanis room and child care room at the workplace, at the offices, at the bus stand, at the railway station, at the airport, everywhere. So government is trying to promote. I hope most of you know the story of this woman Hirkani, for after whose name the Hirkanis room name has been given by the Maharashtra BPNI, and these rooms are available there in most of the places. And if mother cannot carry baby to these rooms or at workplace, she can express the milk and send back to the home. Now, many times there is a query that the delivery is cesarean section, so how the baby can be given breastfeeding. We'll see this video where the breastfeeding is given on the OT table. So one of the staff in the OT, maybe nurse, maybe attendant, she can hold the baby and the baby can be fed on the OT table at the time when the surgeons are suturing or taking care of the other part of the cesarean section. So here you can see the baby is fed on the OT table itself. Another important concept which is gaining more and more importance in the present era again is the kangaroo mother care. Not only kangaroo mother care, there is a kangaroo father care and kangaroo human care now. Anybody, the grandmother, the aunt, uncle can give. Can see this special chair which is known as kangaroo mother chair. You can see this mother, she is giving kangaroo care to 3 babies, and later on you can see these triplets who have come out of the neonatal period and they are very well developing. As far as storing of the milk is concerned, the expressed milk can be stored at a room temperature for 6 to 8 hours, in fridge at 5 to 10 degrees up to 3 days, at 0 to 4 degrees for up to 5 days, and in freezer that is at minus 18 to 20 degrees centigrade for 3 to 6 months. So we can have expressed milk with day and date on that, and this can be stored. And this stored milk can be fed to the baby straight from the fridge, or it can be warmed in a warm water, and take care to check the temperature before the feeding. In case mother's milk is not available for any reason, according to WHO, the other options are expressed mother milk, the donated fresh milk, or pasteurized donated milk. You can see the formula, and animal milk are at the last. This enhanced, or because of this, the concept of human milk banking, which is of course not new. It is in the other countries in last 50 to 60 years. And even in our country, in India, the first milk bank was started somewhere in the 90s, so 1990, almost 30 years now. So the concept is based on the wet nursing and milk sharing by the mothers. We all know there is a thriving market for the breast milk in the commercial market, and for the milk banking things, we have now even a module for the storing, dispensing of milk banking for the health facilities. So comprehensive lactation management centers is the official human milk banks, which are now promoted and maintained by the central government guidelines. The Infant Milk Substitute Act, a very important act for the infant milk substitute, feeding bottles, and infant food regulation of production, supply, distribution Act 1992 was amended in 2003. So this is very important act to promote, support, and protect the breastfeeding. And again, I feel there will be a whole lecture on the IMS Act. A very interesting case decided in 2013, and according to this case, there is a LSCS baby, 3.1 kg, so for all practical purposes, a full-term normal baby, developed jaundice on the 4th day of life, so probably physiological jaundice. Baby was shifted to NICU for phototherapy without mother, so mother was left out. She was told that there is no need of your milk, we will keep the baby in the NICU, give the phototherapy, and baby was fed powder milk with the bottle. Now this baby vomited, there was aspiration pneumonia, septicemia, multi-organ failure, and ultimately the baby died. Now such cases, if they go to the consumer court or the court, it is really very difficult to defend in the court of law. And this is one of the disadvantages of bottle feeding. There are many other disadvantages of bottle feeding. So what is our role? Our role is to use our power to change. If we want to save the babies, look at the figures. ORS can save 15% of all child deaths. 1 hour, the golden hour breastfeeding can save 22% of all neonatal deaths. Exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, 15% of all child deaths. The use of formula of animal milk is associated with exaggerated claim and is increasing. So that's why we have to change all these statistics and all these practices which are harmful for the nutrition of the child and mortality and morbidity of the child. And you can see again this small video where the IT professional mothers or those who are working in IT sector, they are having ramp walk to promote the breastfeeding.
Of catching, cracked nipples, mastitis, and breast abscesses, both sides. She reached the lactation consultant at right time and had aspirations of the abscesses few times and continued breastfeeding. Now exclusively breastfeeding. Today her daughter smiles at her after breastfeeding. That's the best moment of motherhood as of now.
So please remember we have to promote, support and protect the breastfeeding at each and every step. We should not get misled by an advertisement or a biased advertisement which says that bottle feeding or mother's milk and the powder milk are not different. Okay, so we have to have a mother like this, very confident, smiling, feeding two babies and the third baby in kangaroo mother care on the chest of the mother. You can see this photograph by Neha Dhupia where she says the breastfeeding should not be looked as something vulgar or which is not as per the practice. And we can see this third photograph which is giving a very bad message that the father's duty is to bottle feed. So please remember such types of biased, unscientific advertisement should be curtailed and we should promote the support and protect the breastfeeding, have an informed mother or the health worker. The mother and the health worker should know the priorities. They should know what is scientific and what is unscientific. If you look at our achievements as far as the statistics are concerned, we have badly failed in achieving all this. Now, what is the reason of our failure? Is it lack of knowledge? Many question marks, because all of us have knowledge what is good, what is bad, how the breastfeeding should be promoted, how the formula or the animal milk should be avoided. But many of us are misguided by the information, especially in the media. We have lack of time or the so-called over busy schedule. So we are not ready to listen to the mother, to her problem. We do not have time to build her confidence. And not building her confidence, not giving the proper information in the present era can be taken as an act of omission. There are many age-old myths and misconceptions which we are not ready to ask the mother or relatives to change. Of course, many times there may be non-responsive mothers or relatives, but at the same time, there is lack of commitment on the part of health worker. So somewhere we have to think on all this, that why we are failing. So we have to join hands to give the proper information, to give the proper suggestions to the mother and the relatives. For this, we have formed the IYCF chapter of IIP, and there is Human Milk Banking Association of India, to which we are taking conferences, CMEs, workshop throughout the year and all over India. That brings us to another basic question. Is breastfeeding mother's or child's right? And not breastfeeding, is it a part of child abuse or a violation of this maternal and child right? You can see these photographs on this slide again. And Miss Jinsi Varghese, she started online petition for creating a mass movement, that is the Right to Breastfeed campaign. Her baby was given the formula milk on the first day of the life, though the baby was in a hospital where there was a women milk bank. So she started this online petition that stop feeding formula milk to the newborns without the parents' consent. And my baby, my decision. So every mother has right to take the decision what feeding should be given to her baby. We have to explain the various things, give the information which is best for her child, and then later take the decision whether she wants to continue breastfeeding or she wants to give formula or animal. Finally, before we stop, some important carry home message. We'll again try to repeat. The breastfeeding is natural, instinctive, and physiological. It is mother's and child's birthright to feed the baby. We should not be blind followers of the Western style or Western culture. Parents and health worker concept must be clear. So we should be very much clear what is important for the baby. Whether it is exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, and after 6 months, continue minimum for 2 to 2.5 years. If the mother's milk is not available, then the another option is milk bank. And you can see this photograph. Again, a very important photograph. Here, mom's milk was flown 1000 kilometers, that is from Leh to Delhi, for a 3-week period to the baby who was admitted in the hospital for some congenital anomaly, and surgical treatment was required. So mother was in Leh. She expressed her milk, transported it through the aeroplane, and the baby was fed with mother's milk at Delhi. So our concept should be clear how to give the breastfeeding, when to give, how much to give, and if there are some problem, how to take care. Though we have law the IMS Act, it may not be the answer in all the cases. Start breastfeeding as soon as possible, that is the within the golden hour. Do not give prelactal feeds. Advise contraception to the mother as early as possible so the problem of second pregnancy is avoided. Follow the practice of rooming in. Now what we call bedding is more helpful. So mother and baby on the same bed. So if there are chulas or palnas in the mother's room, then it is a bad practice. So there is no need for the baby cradle by the side of mother's bed. The mother and baby should be in the same bed, that is bedding in, and mother and baby in the same room is rooming in. Continue breastfeeding minimum for 2 years. Do not use bottles, gripe waters, multivitamins, etc. You can see again this photograph where the bottle feed babies ingest microplastics. So in long term, it will be harmful for the baby. Avoid artificial, commercial, and animal milk as far as possible. After 6 months, give complementary feeding, home-based complementary feeding. For doing all this, what we need, we should be an activist. We should take a pledge today that we will not leave any stone unturned for promoting, supporting, and protecting the breastfeeding. You can see this photograph again, the second photograph. Mother who reach their breastfeeding goals are lucky, but not because they had no problems in breastfeeding, but they were lucky to be given accurate, proper, practical advice, support, and not to be told to just give up the efforts in breastfeeding. So mother does not feel to breastfeed. It is the society which fails to support them and the family which fails to support. So before labeling any mother that she has lactational failure, just rule out all the possibilities that we are not failing in supporting her breastfeeding. The second photograph is from Surat, where the mothers are donating milk for the Human Milk Bank. So again, this is a very popular movement in cities like Surat, Pune, in Amravati, and now even in Thane. So many cities, they are now having the breast milk or mother's milk donation camps. So be an activist, do not be an extremist, and never be a terrorist as far as breastfeeding is concerned. This is another example of activism. In Bangalore airport, when we went in November, December 2011, the baby care room was shown with the bottle feeding. And again, when we complained to the airport authorities of India, and when we went the June 2012, the baby care room was shown with the mother and the child in breastfeeding position. This is member of parliament from Sweden, where she is breastfeeding the child during the parliamentary proceeding. This is the wife of Timor-Leste country president. She says the breastfeeding is the birthright of the child and mother. So she says, let us share my picture of breastfeeding my child. So there is nothing harm in breastfeeding the baby and not in promoting the breastfeeding. So before we start, there are some other examples of promoting, supporting, and breastfeeding. This is a photograph of Mizoram volleyball player who breastfeed during the break during the match. So, Ma Tujhe Salam is the Twitter message for this mother who is breastfeeding the child. So, as we said, the working mother, they can carry the baby to the workplace. The sports person, the television personalities, the cinema personalities, they can all carry the breastfeeding child and have the breastfeeding during the. So breastfeeding, please remember, is a nature's rule. Artificial feeding is exception and not the rule. So artificial or animal should be used as a last resort where all fails and not as a routine. So this is the book on the essentials of maternal, infant, and young child nutrition, adolescent nutrition. I hope after today's talk, all of us will start thinking out of the box and promote, support, and protect the breastfeeding. And thank you, organizers, again for giving this opportunity to have a overview of what is happening as far as the breastfeeding for the infant and young child nutrition is concerned. To thank the organizers, thanks Dr. Jyoti Sharma Madam, and thanks the PFHI. Thank you.
So you are not audible.
Sir, can we take up some questions from the participants if they have any?
Yes, definitely. Whether the sound and video was clear during the lecture?
It was very much clear, sir. If anyone is having any kind of question, they can type it in the chat box or they can directly ask with sir.
And it's been a pleasure to welcome all of you also for this session, which is a next in the line. In the morning, Dr. Satish Tiwari has taken and covered the basics aspects of breastfeeding. And now we would like to go on the second part of this lecture, which is on complementary feeding and counseling. And my pleasure to welcome Dr. Anita Gupta. She is the national trainer for the IYCF for this course, as well as for she's associated with almost all the initiatives in the country which are going on to promote optimal breastfeeding and complementary feeding practices. Welcome, ma'am, and it's been pleasure to have you here.
Thank-
We can start the session now. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I would like to know the people are from which states mostly. You can understand Hindi or only English, because the counseling skills which we have made the videos in our modules and talking to the patient, it's in Hindi. So will they be able to understand later on when they read it?
I guess so, ma'am. If anybody has a difficulty in understanding, they can write in the chat box and ask you questions. Nikita will help you out in case some people are not being able to understand Hindi. There are some people from South India, some people are from Northeast. I mean, they are being posted in Northeast. I'm not sure whether they are being able to understand Hindi or not, but we can definitely moderate in case some difficulties are there. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, good afternoon, everyone. And I hope you all are awake. Dr. Satish must have taken a very wonderful session. And after the breastfeeding, we come to the complementary feeding. So this module is a part of IYCF, which a part 3.1 has been taken by Dr. Satish, and 3.2 is about the complementary feeding, which will be taken by me. So can I share my screen, Jyoti?
Yes, please. Yes, ma'am.
So by the time I share my screen, I'll be just telling you what are the module overview. So the module overview is that it covers 3 parts. It's been divided in 3 parts, and that is about the complementary feeding and feeding during I think my screen has been shared. I'll do it in a...
Yes, ma'am. It is visible, and you can just make it on a presentation mode.
Yeah, I'm doing that. My laptop is not responding. I don't know. So the overview, it has 3 parts actually. The first part is telling us about the complementary feeding and about how to feed during the illnesses. The second part is about the growth monitoring, on which basis we have to advise the mother about the feeding of the baby. I don't know why it's not opening. Yeah.
It is visible, ma'am, now.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. It's not moving. My slides are not moving actually. Yeah. So and third part is the how to integrate complementary feeding in health system delivery system. So and the main objective of this module is to understand importance of complementary feeding, explain guiding principle about the complementary feeding, and many common difficulties we face during complementary feeding, and also the importance and process of growth monitoring by which we can assess the growth of the babies, and importance of complementary feeding during illnesses, and again the complementary protocols into health system delivery. So as I have to talk about the complementary feeding, I'll not be touching about the chapter 2 and 3, the protocols as well as the growth monitoring, but a part of it, as I know all are doctors, you must be knowing how to plot the growth, the weight of the baby, the length of the baby, and how to interpret. But a part of it, if any questions, I'll be able to answer you at the end of my presentation. So let's see what is complementary feeding. Complementary feeding can be defined as adding any other food in addition to breast milk, and when the breast milk alone is not sufficient to meet the nutritional requirement of the infant. So we now say we are complementary with the breastfeeding, because we say continue breastfeeding till 2 years and more. So it's complementary, not the supplementary, because we are not replacing the breast milk. Now, let's see what happens. You heard that the breastfeeding should be given till 6 months, and it's been seen that exclusive breastfeeding is quite good for the baby's growth. And as soon as the baby reaches 6 months, it has been seen. Please mute yourself. I don't know who is
बाहर लेंगे
On
क्योंकि
unmute.
ऑडिटोरियम में वो पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाएगा। अब सभी के
Jyoti?
लिए यहाँ पर हमने बाहर सूक्ष्म जलपान की व्यवस्था रखी हुई है। और मैं
Please mute कर दीजिए. Who is
हमारे साथी हमारे मुख्य अतिथि जी श्री मास्टर जी को और की ओर से
am I audible?
आगे के भविष्य के लिए
Hello? Hello? Hello, I am audible.
Ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. So at 6 months, what happens? The decrease in the weight takes place. There is a decline. You can see in the growth chart. And it's been seen if we look at the stunting. It also takes very early. As we talked about the 1,000 days, it starts from the pregnancy only. But it's been seen that at 6 months, the maximum stunting starts. And till 2 to 3 years, it is the maximum. And this is the window. If we do something at this window, we can say these stunting can be reversed. But after 2 to 3 years, this is too late and we cannot revert back the stunting. That's why now we talk about IYCN, because previously we take 2 years of age. 0 to 2 years are targeted groups. Previously we used to talk about under 5 children. Why we are talking about this? Because we have to really target till 2 years so that the stunting we can stop. As well as we all know 85% to 90% of brain development occurs in this period. So if the baby is malnourished till 2 years, not given exclusive breastfeeding or not complementary feeding till 2 years properly adequate, these babies are less acute. So, and it's irreversible. So it's important that we take care of this. And it's been seen in the NFHS 5 also that only 56% of the babies start complementary feeding at 6 months, and 16% give adequate diet. So see so much. And 9 out of 10 children in 6 to 23 months do not receive adequate diet. So it's very poor. We have to do something and we have to learn how we can improve our complementary feeding. So now I'll be talking about the guiding principle of the complementary feeding. And if we know these 8 guiding principles, I know we all can improve the complementary feeding and it's not difficult. So let's see what is the first guiding principle. The first guiding principle is timely introduction. So you must have, everyone knows that it should be started at 6 months. And we always tell mother, it's very important how we communicate with the caregiver or the mother. What happens? We always tell them you start at 6 months. But these females, these mothers, once the baby is 5 months, they think, okay, it's been running in 6, he has completed 6. Similarly, if we say 6 months, they say after 6 months, they say, okay, it can be 7 months, it can be 8 months because my baby is not eating. So it's very important that we say the complementary feeding should be started at 181 day. We have to really give this message that on 180 days, the baby is completing 6 months, and on the next day only, the complementary feeding should be started. Let's see why at 6 months. So this is a bar diagram. You can see these black boxes are the energy from the breast milk, and the white boxes are the energy gap. We can see till 6 months, the energy provided by breast milk is complete. But at 6 to 8 months, there is an energy gap. Similarly, this gap increases as the age increases. So it's very important that we start complementary feeding along with exclusive breastfeeding at 181 day. So can we start, as I said, mothers can start early, or mothers, if they don't understand, or they can start late. So why it can't be done? So let's see, if we start complementary feeding too early, what happens? Because the baby will suckle less, because we are giving something else to eat. So breast milk production decreases. Similarly, the less breast milk is given to the baby, so low nutrient diet, because we say till 6 months, breast milk is the best nutrition for the baby. Then due to decreased breast milk, there will be increased illnesses. We are starting complementary feeding. So we are decreasing breastfeeding, so less protective factors, and gut is not prepared yet for the foreign proteins. Complementary feeding is not that clean, and it is also difficult to digest for the baby. And this also increases the risk of pregnancy in the mother, because contraceptive benefits of exclusive breastfeeding will be decreased. If we start complementary feeding too late, what happens? Child does not receive the adequate nutrient diet because we have not started, the energy gap and everything has started. As I showed you in the bar diagram, there will be delay in growth and development, there will be increase in risk of deficiency and malnutrition, and also there will be chances of more sickness in the baby. So these will be the late consequences. So we have to start, now we have to be very careful. The first principle, start breastfeeding at 181 day. Then the second guiding principle is safe and hygienic food. We all know if we are starting something from outside, semi-solid, the food from outside, we have to be giving it hygienically, feeding as well as preparing. Otherwise, it will cause many diseases. So if unhygienic feeding is done, it increases risk of diarrhea and compromises nutritional status of the baby. It undermines the parent's confidence also. What happens if we haven't tell the mother that the safe practices are important? The baby will start diarrhea if the mother will start something from the outside. And she will think, no, after starting semi-solids, my child had diarrhea, so I'll delay the complementary feeding. It is not suiting my child. So this will also decrease the parents' confidence. So safe preparation and handling will prevent contamination and will reduce the risk of diarrhea. There should be no bottle feeding as it increases the risk of infection. We have to wash hands with soap before food preparation as well as before feeding. There should be clean utensils, clean water, safe water. We have to separate raw and cooked food because of the infection. Then cook food thoroughly. Then keep the food at safe temperature and covered. We should usually try to give fresh food to the babies, freshly prepared. Then wash hands with soap after disposing child's feces. So these all are important for the safe preparation and handling. Let's see the third guiding principle, that is continued breastfeeding. So we always say that breastfeeding should be continued, as you heard with Dr. Satish also, to be continued till 2 years or more if the mother wants. So let's see why we are so much talking about continuing the breastfeeding. If we see what the breast milk supplies at 2 years, we can see that in the second year, 37% of energy is given by this blue bars are given from the breast milk. Okay, so 37% energy is given from the breast milk, 55% proteins, 76% vitamin A, 98% vitamin C, and 5% of iron. So what we have to supplement or complement with the complementary feeding is 63% energy, 45% proteins, 24% vitamin A, 2% vitamin C, and 95% of iron. So this has to be given from the complement, and this must see is being given already from the breast milk. And it's been seen that from 6 to 12 months, half of the energy is given by after 1 month, it is 1/3, 1 year, but 6 to 12 months, it is half energy is given by the breast milk. So we all know breast milk provides higher quality nutrients than complementary food, and this reduces mortality among children who are malnourished. So we want these children to be continued with breastfeeding along with complementary feeding. Let's look at the fourth guiding principle, that is consistency and the texture. So what happens whenever a child comes to us or for the complementary feeding? What we say, most of the doctors I have seen, most of the paramedical workers, they say start dal ka pani or dal or rice water or juices or vegetable soups. So is it important to look about the consistency also about the food? So let's see what should be the right consistency for the complementary feeding. So you can see this spoon. This is showing food which is falling from the spoon slowly. And here you can see a food falling very fast from the spoon. So this is the right consistency the baby should be fed with. And this is too thin, so we should not tell mothers to start with the thin liquids or thin fluids. So why it is important that we should advise for the thick food, this type of consistency, which is semi-solid. So for that, we must know what is the size of the baby. So it's been seen that till 2 years, the size of the stomach of the baby is 200 ml. So if we take a porridge, which is thick enough like this teaspoon, and we make it 200 ml. Okay. Now we want to give the liquid food because we don't want to give that much sake. We are scared. So what happens? We add 300 ml into it, the water into it. What will happen? It will become 500. And now if I want to feed this child with that 500, what will happen? Only 200, part of 200 ml, which porridge will go to the baby's stomach. And this will really cause baby to get malnourished. So very important that we give thick porridge, and it has been seen and it has been studied that this thick porridge, which is just staying on the spoon, not falling very fast, can fill the stomach better and give the proper nutrient to this child. So let's see how we can again demonstrate this thickness to the mothers. We can demonstrate with the spoon, or we can demonstrate with the plate as it's been demonstrated here. There are 3 type of foods kept on the plate, and we put the plate in a 45-degree angle. This food is falling very fast. This is too thin. It's not at least moving. This is too thick. So these this too thick baby won't be able to take. So we have to see what kind. So we see that this food, which is falling slowly, being a tongue shaped, is of right consistency. So this type of food, which is of this consistency, should be given to the baby to fulfill his nutrient requirement. So we should not give dal ka pani or fruit juices or vegetable soup. We should give a semi-solid, thick food to these babies. Now let's see what should be the texture. So we say from 6 to 9 months, a thick porridge and well-mashed foods can be given to the babies. Then at 9 to 12 months, finely chopped or mashed foods can be given. And 12 years to 12 months to 24 months, well-cooked and chopped food, but we should avoid choking foods like nuts, grapes, or raw carrots. So this should be the texture of the food given to these babies. Now the 5th guiding principle is dietary diversity. Okay, so what is this we mean by dietary diversity? As we all know, we take balanced diet. We don't just eat dal, or we just don't eat rice. But if we have to give a message to these mothers, what we say, aap dal shuru kar dijiye, you start rice, you start banana, you start potato. So what happens? We are not giving them the balanced diet. When we eat, we take chapati also, or rice, we take pulses, we take vegetables, we take milk products also, non-veg also. So the baby also needs a dietary diversity. So it has to be given variety of foods as a balanced diet, and should be given from the family pot. Whatever we are eating can be given to the baby. So let's see how should we decide. So for the kids, for the children, we recommend 7 groups, and these 7 groups are grains, tubers, and roots for the cereals, then legumes and pulses, mainly for the proteins, then eggs have been given a separate group, then dairy products, and the flesh or fish, chicken, or meat. So these 3 groups are animal products. Then vitamin A rich fruits and vegetables, that orange colored fruits and vegetables to provide vitamin A. Green leafy vegetables, dark green, to give the iron. So these are the 7 groups, and we recommend that at least 4 different types of foods, diverse and nutrient-rich food items from 7 recommended foods should be given to the baby in each feed. So at least in each feed, each thali, we should be having 4 different type of food groups. So it's not, we should not be given only the banana or the potato or the dal. It should be with the 4 different type of diverse foods. So what is the importance of this diverse food is? It builds physical strength of the baby, it causes development of the brain, and it prevents from illnesses. So this is the benefit that the baby is on the 4 different type of food in each feed. So diversity is very important. Now let me see if the baby is on breastfeed, and at 6 months, what are the main nutrients which are needed at this time. So let's see about the iron gap. What happens from this black part is the iron provided by the breast milk. And this gray part is the iron from the birth stores. And this check part and black part is the iron gap. So let's see here. Till 6 months, the iron reserves or stores are so much that we don't need, and breastfeeding is sufficient for the baby to get the iron from the stores. But at 6 months, these stores deplete, they are not there. So now we have to introduce some food which will be rich in iron so that these requirements should be fulfilled. So for this, we say animal foods are special foods for children. So they are more rich in iron. Their heme quality is also good for absorption. Then they are good in zinc, which is also needed for iron absorption, and also good in vitamin A. Similarly, dairy products are also good for iron as well as for calcium, proteins, and vitamin A. So, but most of the time, the mothers say at 6 months, or there is a myth that this animal foods are very hot foods, they are not easily digestible by the children, so they don't start at 6 months. But it has been seen that as the iron requirement is more, these foods are very special for the children. So if any family is taking non-veg, at least they should start giving babies the animal foods, and at least milk and milk products should be given from non-veg families also, yogurt, to increase the iron contents in the complementary feeding. But many times, if in a vegetarian diet, the iron contents are not fulfilled, these babies will develop anemia. So we can supplement some iron syrups or drops from outside also for these children after 6 months. So again, we have to give legumes and pulses and nuts, which are rich in proteins and iron, and it has to be there in the every diet of the baby. So they are again important for the iron and protein. And there are certain, we all know that certain vitamin rich foods like lemon, oranges, and tomatoes, which help in iron absorption. That can be, and other methods of iron absorption, like making in a iron utensils food. So that also helps in iron supplement to the baby. So this should be done. Now let's see what are the vitamin A gap. So till 5 months, the vitamin A, this black part coming from the breast milk and this gray part coming from the stores. But at 6 months, again, the gap is increasing. So we have to introduce, or we have to give vitamin A. And we usually, that's why we say the children should be given these yellow color fruits and vegetables, which are good in iron. And this helps in eye development of the baby also. And as we all know, in our program, we are giving vitamin A supplement also from 9 months. So this we can start from 6 months, the supplementation of the food items. So again, important for the vitamin A that we introduce this group of food. So let's see now what to give and what to avoid. So many times I have seen, you must have seen the mother say, I'm giving Cerelac, I'm giving processed food to the baby. But what happens? These have really, they are not good. And so let's see what to be given is, which is easily prepared at home. So I said from the family pot, we can give whatever the baby can eat. They should be locally available. They should be cost effective. They should be softer consistency, less spicy, caloric dense, and easy to digest, and naturally culturally acceptable. Then we should avoid fruit juices, soups, because they are very liquid, thin, watery foods. They are calorie deficient, and also commercial food, like I talked about the Cerelac or processed food, because they are costly. They have preservative, which have side effects. They are not fresh, and they are artificial. Uh, Things are also added in this. So we should not be. And one more important thing is, if we start Cerelac, what will happen? The baby will develop the taste of Cerelac. And then the later parents say that my baby is not eating my home food. So that's why we say it should be given from the family food. So the taste buds of the baby develops. And in later part of her life or his life, he can relish that home prepared food. So important to give the home from the home pot. Then the guiding principle 6. This is the adequate amount and meal frequency. So now we have heard what consistency to be given, what things to be given. Now we should diversity. Now we should how much amount to be given and how many times to these babies. So there is again, we know there are so much gap which we have to fulfill with the complementary feeding, and for that it has been seen that age at 6 to 8 months, this you can mug or you can keep a chart this type. It's given in your module in front of you, and you can advise mothers how much to give and how much not to give. So they require 200 calories per day, and we have to start with thick porridge, well mashed foods, as we just talked. And we have to start with 2 to 3 tablespoonful and increase to 2 to 3 meals per day. So here you can see 2 meals, and this tablespoon means 15 ml, because the teaspoon is 5 ml, so it's equal to 3 tablespoons. Teaspoons equal to 3 tablespoons. So we can start with 2 to 3 tablespoons, and we can increase to half a katori bowl. And it's very important that we take 250 ml of bowl, because many times when we ask mother how much you are giving, she said, yeah, I'm giving full katori, but my katori, if you ask them, it's a small katori which they have kept as a toy katori, because the baby is small. They feel that the bowl should be very small, but it has to be a bowl of 250 ml. See, this is very important. So we can increase up to half a bowl. Now at 9 to 12 months, 300 calories are needed. Again, here we can give finely chopped, but mostly mashed food is easily taken by the baby, but we can give baby some foods which baby can pick up, which we call as finger foods at 9 to 12 months. And here we increase the meals to 3 times a day, like morning breakfast, then lunch, and then dinner, what we are preparing at home. And 2 nutritious snacks also has to be added at this time, because they don't only 3 meals doesn't fulfill the nutrient requirement of the baby. So 2 snacks has to be, which are nutrient rich, has to be added to these children. Now at 1 year to 2 year, 550 calories are needed. Again, family food, chopped or mashed food can be given. Yeah, here also 3 meals are there, but 1 full katori. There was half a katori, which can increase to 1 katori. Now it is 1 bowl, 250 ml per day, with 1 to 2 nutritious snacks to give. So this should be the quantity and the frequency we should be following. I'll just give you for the snacks example. Here is a baby, he's Saurabh, 13 months old. We are giving in the morning, he has been breastfed all the day. And in the morning, he had porridge with milk and sugar. In the midday, there was a full katori of dal, rice, and beans, as well as some lemon and curd. So, and in the evening, he had full katori of fish and dal and rice and some and night again breastfeed. But it was seen that with these 3 meals also, there was a gap in energy in this 13-month baby, and there was a gap in iron. So we have to fill this with our nutritious snacks after 1 year. So we have to fill the energy and we have to fill the iron gap when we have to give the nutritious snacks. So here we have added bread, we have added a banana, and we have added liver piece. And see the energy gap, and it has gone. So these are the snacks which the mother doesn't have to prepare, and it can be given. Egg can be given in place of liver, so boiled eggs. So these have to be a nutritious snacks which can be given to the baby. Now, many times mother will come to you who is not breastfeeding at all. She has stopped breastfeeding and this baby is not taking any breast milk. For this baby, there is an energy gap 50%. So this we have to fulfill by adding either complementary feed, 1 or 2 feed, complementary feed, or we can add milk, at least 1 to 2 glass for fulfilling this energy gap. So these baby needs extra nutritionist requirement. Now, many times mother will tell you that 250 ml is too big for my baby. He has not started taking so much. He can't take so much. So many times we have to make our food energy rich. And that we can do by adding oil or butter. Like many say that we should not add butter or ghee, but we should not eat, but the children should be given. We can enrich food with this butter ghee. We can mix pulse flour. We can mix the roasted cereals into our food. We can put coconut water instead of water for making the food. So these can enrich our food. And this adds extra energy in small volume of the food, as well as it is safe and easy to soft. It becomes soft and it becomes easy for the baby to swallow. So we can enrich our staple foods with these things. Usually we say the sugar should not be used for enriching, because usually sugar, what it does, it increases the thirstiness and of the baby, and baby wants to take more water, and it also hampers the appetite of the baby. So usually we say sugar should not be used as a enriching the staples. So I'll give you an exercise now. There will be break for 2 to 3 minutes, and I will tell Jyoti or Nikita, anyone who is with me, so to read these. I'll ask you a question and you have to answer it in your chat box. Everyone has to answer it. I'll be giving them 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So if you say, should I stop sharing? So there is a question for everyone. Suppose a mother comes to you and her baby is 6 months now, completed 181 days, and you want to give one message to this mother about starting the complementary feeding. Please write down in any, the way you will tell the mother in that language. Please write down in your chat box what you will be advising. One message only. Nikita, can anyone
please repeat the question, ma'am?
Okay. A mother has come to you for a baby of 181 days, more than 181 days. Now you want to advise about the complementary feeding to this mother. What do you want to suggest to this mother for the complementary feeding? One sentence, one advice. Like if someone comes to me at 6 months, I'll say you start giving dal ka pani, or you start giving rice water, or you start giving rice and khichdi, whatever whatever you want to give one suggestion to this child.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you.
Some people are typing in the chat box.
Where is the chat box? I can't see.
On the right side.
After my session, please take care what you want to give this message to the mother.
Dr. Beneath has raised his hand from long. If he has any question, you can ask.
Yeah, you can ask. Please, everyone write.
Dr. Anita, two participants have written with start with dal ka pani and porridge. So
Yeah, I saw
you can
that.
please write.
So it's been, I think everyone has written. You can read for me once I share my slides, okay? Any question people were asking, let me answer, then I'll again share my slides. Any question? You said na someone is raising hand.
Yeah, Dr. Beneath, if you have any question, you can please ask. Unmute yourself and please ask.
Everyone has written, I think, or not? Achha, okay, then I am sharing my screen, Jyoti. Huh? So you can read for me, no? The answers.
Yes, ma'am, two people have written. Dr. Triloki says they can start with dal ka pani, and Dr. P
So many people
with
have
porridge.
written, not two.
Yeah, after that, some more have written.
So many people have come. I'm seeing.
Some more have written, right?
I think most of the people have written.
Correct. It's there.
Can you see?
Yes, it's showing.
Showing, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16 people have written. So now I will share my slides, no? Anyone wants to ask till now? मैं किसी को अनम्यूट करके पूछती हूँ क्वेश्चन, है ना? Daksha, she is a participant, no? Daksha, are you there? I can't unmute them. Nikita?
Ma'am, no. I think
Okay.
you won't be able to.
Okay, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. So
नमस्ते मैम.
let me, हाँ,
नमस्ते मैम, डॉक्टर टी एन दास हियर.
yeah, Dr. Diandas.
मैम
I just
6 मंथ हम बच्चे को जनरली दाल का पानी बोलते हैं और खिचड़ी खिचड़ी दे सकते हैं, लिक्विड डाइट, या फिर दलिया वगैरह. ये स्टार्टिंग मतलब
अच्छा,
स्लोली करके.
अभी खैर अभी मैंने आपके साथ सेशन लिया जिसमें क्या बात हुई कि हमें पतला तो देना ही नहीं है, पानी तो देना ही नहीं है ना. So this is where we have to be very, now we have to change our mind that we have to always say thick food has to be given, which stays on the spoon and doesn't fall very fast.
ओके मैम.
Okay, Tien.
थैंक यू.
And secondly, we can't, and I said diversity of food has to be there. That was again a thing, no? So diversity, again, we are just giving dal. So some other time you want to give the rice or roti? It's not possible,
मैम
no?
राइस रोटी
हाँ, तो साथ में ही देंगे तभी वो खा पाएगा ना. अलग से तो रोटी और दाल नहीं दे सकते, या हम एक टाइम में रोटी दे रहे हैं, एक टाइम में दाल दे रहे हैं. So in her katori or in her bowl or in her plate, the child plate has to be diversity of food. Okay, it has to be from the cereals also, it has to be from the pulses also, it has to be from the vegetables also. Okay, from 7 groups, at least 4 groups should be there in one meal of the child. Understand? So that is important. Okay. And thus tell me one more thing. Now you have been caught. If you tell the mother that you start giving the khichdi to her, as you said, we will say ki homemade khichdi. So are they say कि हाँ हमारा बच्चा खा लेता है, or they have any other complaint कि खाता नहीं है बच्चा? What's their complaint? I think most of the mothers will know that most of the mothers say, डॉक्टर साहब हम तो सब बना के देते हैं, खिचड़ी भी देते हैं, दलिया भी अलग से भी बनाते हैं, स्पाइस भी नहीं डालते हैं, we don't put any spices. Even then my child doesn't eat, it spits out. So I give liquid food, I don't give semi solid, I give dal ka pani, that he takes. Okay, so these are the
डाइट कंप्लेन रहता है बदल के नहीं खाते हैं, तो उनको डेली बने वैरायटी ऑफ फूड चेंज करना है, मतलब सो दैट कि टेस्ट बच्चे को मिले.
हाँ, लेकिन वो तो कह रही है कि मैं सेमी सॉलिड डालती हूँ तो वो बच्चे को तो खा ही नहीं पाता है, वो तो गिरा देता है ना. और आप कह रहे हो कि थिक दो, तो क्या करते हैं हम खुद ही कह रहे हैं कि हमें दाल का पानी दे दो, तो हम फिर कह देते ठीक है भाई थोड़ा कम पतला करके दे दो. सो लेट्स शेयर माय स्लाइड अगेन. अभी शेयर तो नहीं हुई है ना, लेट मी शेयर.
नहीं.
अब दिख रही है क्या मेरी स्लाइड?
जी मैम.
ओके. सो if we go through, agar aap bhi dekhenge, if you go through the question answers, I will not ask Jyoti now because some people have said dal ka pani, which I think we should not be giving now. After this session we should be giving semi solid, and we should not be giving only single, we should be talking about the diversity of the food. So can you just let me know? So most of the people talked about what to feed. Someone said khichdi, someone said porridge, someone said dal ka pani, someone said okay this much amount. Okay, so they all talked about what to feed. But most of the mothers, once you will start counseling them, they will come and say हम सब देते हैं, चेंज करके भी देते हैं, as you said, कभी केला भी दे देते हैं, उबला हुआ आलू भी दे देते हैं, which is not, I'm saying it should not be given. It should be like a snacks only. It should not be given as a meal because diversity is not there. So if the mother says my baby spits it out, So it's very important to tell her about how to feed. We don't talk about how to feed, we always talk about what to feed. As the answers have also come, once you will go to the chat box, more rights will be on the what to feed rather than how to feed. So let's see what how to feed a child is again becomes very important. So this is our seventh guiding principle, that is techniques of feeding and responsive, which is responsive feeding. So let's see what are the techniques of feeding a child. So there are 4 caregiving practices for feeding. And the first is help children to learn to eat. So what happens? These children at 6 months, now we have started semi-solids to these children. And if eating solids is a new skill for them, so they need some time to learn this skill. What happens? How do we eat? Most of the people say we eat by the teeth, but teeth is only helping in chewing. The tongue is helping to move the food inside our mouth and bring between the teeth to chew it. So how we are eating? We are eating with the help of our tongue. So it's been seen that these babies who are 6 months, what happens? These babies are at 6 months, their tongue has only the peristaltic movements. It doesn't have a rolling movement. And 6 months, this rolling movement starts. So they are learning with this rolling movements. What happens if we are putting some semi-solids in their mouth? They spit it out. It falls automatically. And the mother thinks the baby is not liking the taste, baby is spitting it out. But because the peristalsis is still there, the liquid things he will be able to see. Similarly, we tell mothers, don't we tell mothers if the baby starts walking and the baby falls at early age? Does the mother say, no, my baby is not able to walk? Again, he holds the baby with the finger and make the baby walk. So similarly, we have to tell the baby that mother, that this baby is learning how to swallow the semi-solid particles. So we have to give some time, and usually it's been seen that 6 days or 10 days are needed for baby to learn how to eat the semi-solid. So let her make her messy or just spit it out. Let him learn. And till how long the baby should be fed with supervision? It's been said that babies should be fed till 2 years with supervision, but at 1.5 years, the baby can consume all foods on his own. And at 9 to 10 weeks, 10 months, he can hold things. So the baby should be given finger foods to hold. So this way, the baby will be self-sufficient, because many times the mothers come to me at the later age and they say, my baby is not eating on its own. Always I have to give the baby feeding. So we have to make the baby interested in self-feeding, which can be started at 9 to 10 months by finger foods. Then 15 months, the baby can be fed on his own, but we have to really support her. And at 2 years, we have just need a supervision. So this is the first care practices. Now let's see the second care practices. Feed in response to the clues. So what happens? Most of the time you must have seen what are the clues of the baby, how the baby shows the clues that baby is hungry. You must all have seen, when I am eating, the baby will come and try to eat with me, or he will go to some places where the things are left, kept, like biscuits and anything is left kept, the baby will go to that cupboard and say that I want to eat something. So these are the clues, but many times the mother doesn't notice these clues, and what they do, they will think, I'll finish my whole household work, then I will sit properly and feed my child. So we have to feed these babies according to their clues. Now there will be there are three scenarios which I can just discuss with you. So first scenario is baby is fed with forcefully. What happens? Most of the mothers, they will catch hold of the baby. The feed meal time has come. They will just keep them. They'll either scold them or just put a slap on them. Now finish your bowl. And these, what will happen to these babies? They will finish the bowl, but what will happen? They might become obese because they were not hungry. The mother has fed forcefully to them. And secondly, what will happen? They will really not like the meal time. They'll say the mother scolds us. We have to eat forcefully. So they will not be relishing the food. The second scenario, when the food is left to themselves. So what is that? In that, the mother is busy somewhere. She keeps the plate in front of the baby, because now the baby is 13-14 months. He can pick up the spoon, but the baby is trying to pick up the spoon, but baby is not able to do it because it is falling everywhere. So later on, the baby is frustrated, not able to finish the food. He will make it messy, and the mother thinks the baby has finished. What will happen to these babies? They will be malnourished because their proper food is not taken by them. Now the third scenario, which is there again in your videos of your course material, where the mother is very positive and she's feeding the baby in a responsive way. Like, so let's see what are the ways of responsive feeding. So this is the best way for baby to feed. So for responsive feeding, we have to feed the baby with patience and care, encourage them to eat, observe baby's clues for eating, sit facing the baby with eye-to-eye contact, talk to him or her when feeding, praise each mouthful. So what happens, you must have seen the grandmothers and all, what they used to do. They used to tell some story to the kids while feeding, like the monkey will come, the chidiya will come, the crow will come, they will take your food, or the bhaiya will come, he will eat everything. So these are the, and they praise, oh, you're finishing it so fast. So these things help baby to eat well. Then wait when the baby stops eating. Sometimes babies say, I don't want to eat. And with some story or with some eye contact, you can again offer some more. This is called as active feeding. And encourage self-feeding, as I explained earlier. And it's been seen, if the responsive feeding is done, it helps in cognitive and motor development of the, also helps in development of the baby. Third caregiver is have positive relationship between child and the caregiver in feeding. What happens most of the time, if the working mother is there, she will tell the maid to feed the baby, and the baby is not comfortable. So many times older children are told to feed them, but we have to supervise these older children how they are feeding. And many times, as you can see in this picture, when the father comes home, the baby wants to sit with the father, wants to talk, wants to be with the father. At that can be a good meal time when father can feed the baby, because the baby wants a positive relationship with the father. So these are very important factors. Now, the fourth one is provide a suitable feeding situations. As you can see in this table, the child, older sibling is also eating, father eating, and this small child is also sitting and eating. But there should be a separate bowl, which you can see here for the baby, so you can see how much the baby amount has been taken. Then many times the mothers give attention to a baby not eating well. They will complain to the others, "Mera bachcha to, my child doesn't eat anything." But always give attention for the good things and praise the baby, so that they will do the same things again and again. Feed when the baby is alert and happy. And as you said, Tian, that if the child refuses, we can experiment different foods and combinations with textures and taste. Then minimize distraction during meals. So this is very important. Now the last is the guiding principle of feeding during illnesses. As we all know, our appetite, when we get sick, our appetite is decreased. Our taste is also not good. So similarly, the same thing happens with the baby. And let's see what happens when the baby is ill. We can see the weight was going well. Now the baby got sick and the baby weight has come down. Then he picked up little bit. Again, the baby is sick and the weight has come down. So this is the weight chart varies when the baby is sick. Let's see. So we all know that when the baby is ill, his appetite is decreased. She should be encouraged to eat and drink with lots of patience. We should give some favorite foods at the time when the baby is sick. We should give in small amounts and with more frequently. Breastfeed more frequently. It has been seen that the taste for breast milk doesn't changes if the baby even sick. They enjoy breastfeeding. So, and they feel comforted also. So breastfeeding can be increased at the time of illness, and give variety of food and nutrient rich food to these babies, because they will take small amount and they'll be taking frequently. So feeding during recovery, we have to take care of 5 extras, and this is feed extra meal, extra amount, extra rich food, give extra patience while feeding, and give extra breastfeed as often as baby want. So what this will do, the babies, when baby was sick, the weight has come down, and now when the baby is recovering, his appetite also increasing, his taste is also increasing. So we can increase some food items, food and nutrients, and so the baby is again coming to the normal tangent of weight gain. So this will be the benefit of feeding during the illnesses. So if we take care of the feeding during illnesses, this reduces growth faltering and malnutrition, as we saw. Otherwise, this will continue and it will become difficult to catch up that growth in the later part of the life. So let's recap the guiding principle. This is, we should start complementary feeding at 6 months, that is 181 days, very important. Continue breastfeeding till 2 years or beyond, along with complementary food. Food should be prepared, stored, and fed hygienically. The complementary food should be of right consistency, energy dense. Feed with diversity of food, that is balanced diet. Feed in adequate amount and frequency. Feed patiently, responsive feeding, and continue feeding during illness and increase during recovery. So I feel now we will be able to guide our complementary feeding to these children from 6 months to 2 years. And I think it will be a very great work for us to decrease this malnutrition in our country. So now I will go to my second topic, that is counseling. As I'll be talking about only complementary feeding, counseling in complementary feeding. And there is a module 5 which covers general MIYC in counseling, like basics of counseling. I will not go into detail because I don't be having time. So in that module, if you go, all videos are there, all written material is there, where we are introducing general steps in counseling, and also counseling skills about listening and learning skills and confidence building skills. So I'll not go into detail, but I'll only focus. It will be little difficult because you have not read this module, but little bit you will understand with my some examples. So I'll be touching with in relation to the complementary feeding only. So whenever we are talking to a mother, so what do you mean by counseling? Counseling means counseling means that many people say counseling means giving information, or counseling means knowing about her knowledge, and then motivating her to take that action because we are informing something good. But counseling is giving information, finding out what are the problems, and making her and suggesting her and making her decide on her own what is best for her. So it's counseling is a process of gathering information, giving information, and also helping the client or the mother to take the good decision, whatever is the best for her. So that is a counseling. So in counseling, what we say, so whenever we are talking to mother about the complementary feeding, we should have be prepared, and we should arrange the tools for complementary feeding. So why these tools are important, I'll let you know after a while. So ensure that you are having following things with you. Okay. So unless until we don't know what the baby is eating for the last 24 hours, we will not be able to give any information or any suggestion what has to be increased or what has to be added. So we have to ensure that the 6 to 23 months job aid, that is 24 hours dietary recall form, is available with you, so that you can fulfill after asking the mother about this. Then you should have food intake reference form. They are the messages for complementary feeding. So whatever problem you find with this dietary recall, you can give the messages from this reference form. Then print out of the consistency picture. So as I showed you this picture of the spoon or a picture of the thali, or you can have a prepared food there which you can show this is the thickness. Because if we talk to mother कि आप ऐसा बनाइए, ज़्यादा पतला भी ना हो, ज़्यादा गाढ़ा भी ना हो, it should not be very thin, it should not be very thick, she will not understand. So if we have a picture of these spoons, it will be better that, okay, how you are feeding, this way or that way. So she can point out this way I'm feeding, so you can increase. Then we should have a bowl, typical bowl of 250 ml. So you can show, because how much you are feeding this baby, we can always ask. So she can say, okay, only a tip of it, only 1 teaspoonful. So we will know how much she is feeding and how much I have to give the information. We should have growth charts so that we can assess the growth of the baby. We can do the growth monitoring, and we can we should have weighing machine, infantometer, so that we can make out the height of the or length of the baby as well as the weight of the baby. So these things should be available in your OPD before you start counseling or talking to a mother having a baby of complementary feeding age group. Now what we should be prompting to the mother. First, naturally, we always say in the counseling, we have to greet the mother, we have to make her comfortable and privacy, and we have to introduce ourselves. Then ask mother or other caregiver to recall everything the child consumed the previous day. So it includes all the breastfeeds, all other foods taken at meal times, all snacks taken at other times of the day, all drinks, any vitamins or mineral supplements. So we have to take this history about the baby. Now, as I said during your discussion, enter tick marks in the relevant column on the 6 to 23 job aids form as appropriate. This job aid form is there in your module. You can download it. So it looks like this. So here we have to write down. We have to write down that name of the child. Then growth, we can write down whether growth is appropriate after marking on the growth chart, whether it is declining or it is steady. Then whether the baby is taking breast milk or not. Yes, tick can be here. How many meals of thick consistency, 3 or 2, we can write down. Animal source given, yes. Dairy products given, yes. In the 24 hours recall, we are asking from yesterday morning till today morning. She has given pulses or not, dark green leafy vegetables, number of meals, how many frequency, snacks given or not. Then quantity, we can show the bowl and ask how much quantity was given to the baby. How the baby was fed, mother assisted to feed the baby or not. Could the baby was taken any vitamins or mineral supplements, or he is recovering from the illness. So here, what if he is recovering from the illness? So they have increased the amount or not. So these are the things we have to just tick up and we have to fill up. Now after filling this up, we will come to know that how much amount was given to the baby. Okay, because we have measured with the katori, finding out what foods a child likes. Then how often and how many times the baby was given food. Was it given of the right consistency or not, and whether there were diversity of food was there or not. So these are the checking questions we have done already. And now we will be finding the feeding problems. So we will know about the quantity by showing the bowl, ki how much less quantity the baby is given. Then diversity by asking food groups, whether she has been not giving green leafy vegetables or non-veg is not given. So that can be known. Then consistency, we will know by the picture of spoons. Then safety, whether she is preparing safely, if washing hands, cooking properly, pure water, clean utensils, this all we can just ask her. And technique, how she is feeding. Because many times mother might say, my baby spit it off. So we can always tell her responsive feeding is very important. Now plot the weight. We will know the charts, whether it's a normal curve, it's declining, or it is increasing rapidly, very fast. So we have to prioritize our problem and then give information and suggest on that. So suppose if I talk about the counseling and the baby is having normal curve, his feeding habit is very good, which we say only 16% had adequate complementary feeding. What can we do? Can we counsel this mother if she's having every all diversity, amount is good, frequency is good, the baby weight is also properly gaining? Can we say something to this baby? Anything counseling? Yeah, at least praise. We can praise in counseling that, okay, you are doing very well, you are giving breastfeed also, you are giving appropriate food. And we can always give one or two information, like if the baby is growing, if the baby is of 1 year and she is giving 1 katori, now she can increase the snacks. So that can be told to her. So when she is in the process of counseling. And if it's declining, let's see how we can counsel. And increasing rapidly, how can we do? So these are the messages for complementary food intake reference form. Now we have filled that what all baby has taken: breastfeeding, 3 meals taking, animal source taking. So whatever the baby is not feeding here, these are the messages can be given to the baby. Okay, suppose the baby is not getting animal source food. So what message we can give? Animal source food are specially food for children to help them grow strong and healthy. So we can give that information to them. Okay, so because she is not giving, so what will happen if we give information in this way? Or these can be they are all the informations which can be, if she is not giving dark green leafy vegetables to these children, only giving dal and rice as a khichdi, we can always give this message to her: dark green leafy and yellow colored fruits and vegetables help the child to have healthy eyes and fewer infections. So this message, so we, with this message form, we can formulate our message, what is the best, or prioritize if she's not giving the amount. Suppose we want to give full katori, okay, or thick consistency, she is giving watery. So this message we can give food that are thick enough to stay in the spoon, give more energy to the child. So this messages we can give it to the mother. So there are messages which helps her in complementary feeding improvement. So now what informations to be given to the mother? Now we have come to know where are the faults. So we have to give information depending upon if she is not giving from the family pot, she has to, because she is cooking, she is giving dal ka pani, or she is giving rice water, or she is giving cerelac. So we can always say, whatever you are cooking, what can be, we can always ask what you are cooking for lunch, what are you cooking for dinner every day, what are you cooking for breakfast. So from that family pot only we can advise mother that if you are cooking rice and dal and vegetables in the afternoon meal, you can just mash it nicely with no fibers or no particles, and that can be fed to the baby along with curd or anything. So we are introducing the diversity also, and she doesn't have to work extra to give the. So always try to counsel the mother to give from the family food, whatever, and ask her what she is making every day. So the same food can be given to the baby. Then amount also with the katori, depending upon the age, we have a chart. So we can, if the baby is 9 to 12 months, we can say she can give half a katori and increase to 1 katori. Thickness we can show with the spoon, and we have to give only 1 or 2 information. If we start giving her everything, like many times we say you give dal, you give banana, you give potato. So what will happen? So many information. Always give what are you cooking and add all 4 things in each meal of the baby. Then suggest and not demand. So let me explain you. This is a part of counseling. So what do you mean by suggest? Many times we health professionals are fond of giving orders. Like if I ask you that I want to tell this mother कि आप जो है जो नॉनवेज फूड है वो बहुत अच्छा है बच्चे के लिए और उसको खाने में जरूर देना चाहिए. Like non-veg food is good for the children and they should be introduced. तो if I say आप लोग non-veg खाते हैं and the mother says yes I do eat, so you start non-veg. Non-veg is good for the baby. This is our way to take. Give non-veg. Non-veg is good for the baby. So what the mother will think? She will go and think, no, it's very hot. I will not give. But if I ask her this way, non-veg foods are very good for the babies. They make them, give them iron and they make anemia less. And it's a growing, make them less infectious. Then what they will say, but doctor, my mother-in-law says it's very, can you do it? If I say, can you give this non-veg to your baby? So what the mother will say, no, my elders will not allow. I think it's a very hot food. It is not easily digestible at 6 months. I will start at 2 years. So you have a chance to say, no, it's been shown that these are good foods and they don't cause any difficulty. The babies can digest it. So now, can I talk to your mother or mother-in-law so that I can advise them also, and the mother will agree. So we always have to. Similarly, if you tell her, like you give, देखिए दाल का पानी मत दीजिए, don't give दाल का पानी. बच्चे को पूरी न्यूट्रिशन नहीं मिलता. थिक खाना देना है, जैसा मैंने आपको चम्मच में दिखाया, the way I showed you on the spoon. So mother will say, भैया ऐसा I'm doing all wrong. But then she will go home, try to feed the baby, but the baby is learning and the food will come out. Baby will spit and mother will get really scared. But if you say thick food is good for the baby and that should be given, and this fulfill the nutrient requirement of the baby. So will you be able to give thick food? So if any myth is ever there in the mother's mind, what she will say, will it not choke the baby's throat? So we can again explain her. So those myths will be alleviated if we don't order them, we just suggest them. Actually, we are not meeting virtual. If we meet physically, I could have shown you counseling a mother and showing all how the things has to be done. But it's becoming difficult on this virtual method. But now you must have understood that what I mean by suggest and not command. Always ask her whether she will be able to do this, whether she will. So she will come out with her myths or mistaken ideas. Always empathize. What happens? What do you mean by empathize? Empathize is when we are understanding mother's feeling. So many times what happens, the weight of the baby is less, baby is malnourished, and we say, तुम्हारा बच्चा तो बहुत कमजोर है, खाना नहीं खिला रही हो. So what she will feel? She will feel very bad that I have really not doing good with my baby, I'm not a good mother. But what we can say to empathize, I can understand you are worried about your child is getting sick again and again, your child is not gaining weight. So if I say I can understand how worried you are, so this is the empathy. I'm not saying, oh ho tumhara bachcha bada kamzor hai. That means, oh, your child is very weak. Means I am sympathizing. So everyone sympathizes with her. Oh, your baby is getting fall sick so many times. Oh, baby is so weak. But if I empathize, I have to be in her feeling. So I am empathizing the way I can understand how you're feeling. Your baby is not gaining weight. Your baby is so weak. So this is the empathy. So always try to use empathy. Then only she will listen to you if you give any information to improve the situation. Like praise. Again, praise is a very important skill. in counseling. And how can you praise? If I ask you, if a mother comes to me and I had told her not to give, suppose I have asked her, the baby is having diarrhea, and asked her to prepare the food properly, safely, but she is not washing her hands or utensils and feeding, and she says, acha, I forgot, yeah, I'm not. So always, can you praise this mother who is not following your instruction, as well as the baby is also having diarrhea and baby is not gaining weight, not started that much amount? Can you praise the mother? The baby is having diarrhea and she has come to show you. Yes, we can always praise this mother also, because at least she has come to you. The baby is having diarrhea, she has started complementary feeding and the baby is having diarrhea. At least, so you can always, very good, you came to me and to ask the baby is having diarrhea with complementary feeding. Let's see how you are preparing your complementary feeding, and then we can help baby not to have the diarrhea. So always try to find out what is she is doing good. At least she is coming to you to asking. So praising is a very important skill for making the mother confident in you and listening to you. Now, accept is again a counseling skill which we should be accepting. These are for the mistaken ideas. Like what we say, if the mother says, नहीं डॉक्टर साहब non-veg खाना तो बहुत गर्म होता है बच्चे के लिए, डाइजेस्ट भी नहीं होता. So what we usually say, अरे नहीं, किसने बोला तुमको, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, सब बच्चे खा सकते हैं इसको, अच्छी तरह अगर पीस के दिया जाए तो बच्चों को खिलाया जा सकता है. So क्या किया हमने, we disagreed. Okay, she had a myth that non-veg is not good for the children at 6 months, but we disagreed with her. So what will happen, she will not open up with you, and she will think, I'm doing so many wrong, I have so many myths, so many wrong notions. If I tell doctor, she will say, no, this is not good. So she might not open. If I agree, aisa hi hai, the non-veg is heavy and hot food. So what will happen when I'm advising her to give non-veg to these babies, she will say, this doctor is only confused. Sometimes she said it's okay, then sometimes she says it's not okay. So accepting means the mistaken ideas are there. We are just accepting in a neutral way. We are not agreeing, we are not disagreeing. So what does it mean? Like if she said the hot foods are not good, they can't digest. So in the beginning, I'm just accepting it when I'm taking the history. Okay, you think so? So it's her thinking. I'm not saying I'm agreeing, I'm not saying disagreeing. And when I'm giving the information in a form of suggestion, I can add this, these are the good foods. So accepting is for the skill. Once you will go to the basics of skills, you will understand all the skills. And now the check understanding. Once we have told her to give this much amount, the diversity, about the thickness, we should be checking, understanding how much the mother has understood by asking, okay, can you tell me what I have told you till now, so that we can reinforce it, or we can add if she has not understood something properly. And always we have to ask her to come for the follow-up. This is also very important in counseling. So let me just give you a brief about what are the counseling skills we use in counseling MIYCN. Any cases in mother's nutrition or adolescent nutrition or breastfeeding counseling or complementary counseling. And these skills are really useful not only in the MIYCN but also with the families and friends. If we use these skills, we can just understand it. So Jyoti, can I just simply go through it? How much time I have?
You can go on for maybe another 5
10
or
minutes?
10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So if we talk about the listening, we all know when the mother or the patient or the client comes to us, we have to have the rapport building with her. We have to greet her. We have to make her sit comfortable, privacy, and then we have to use these skills to gather the information from her. So we have to use helpful non-verbal communication. I think everyone will know what do you mean by non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communications are the communications which we don't speak. We just show with our posture, with our so there are 6 type of non-verbal communication skills. Like we have to sit so that we can maintain the head level, so mother doesn't feel that I'm high up than her. Then we have to be as eye contact. If I'm looking somewhere else and telling her to speak, what she will think, I'm not interested, so I have to be looking at her. Then I have to be at this if I touch her, okay, Sudha, how are you? So that means she feels comfortable. Okay, I'm really interested. If I'm looking at my watch, means I'm in hurry, so I have to give time to her. If I sit very far from the mother, so what she will feel? Okay, I am not wanting to listen to her properly. So it has to be appropriate distance, and it has to be no barriers. If I'm looking at something else and or talking on the mobile and telling mothers to speak, she will think I'm interested in the mobile. So these are the 6 skills which we call as non-verbal communication skills, and they are being like keep your head level, maintain appropriate distance, pay attention, remove barriers, give time to listen to her, and touch appropriately. So this is the first skill. Whenever the mother is coming, we should use this. Then second is ask open question. If we ask open question, they don't end up with yes or no, and mother has to answer something, so they take less time for us to understand what mother wants to tell. So mostly the questions which are starting with how, when, where, what are the open questions we should be asking, like आपका बच्चे का खाना पीना कैसा चल रहा है? How your baby is feeding? How you're feeding your baby at this 6 months? So she will come, and if I say, are you feeding your baby with some semi-solid, she will say yes or no. So open questions has to be asked. Use responses and gestures. I think we usually do that, like okay, okay. So these are the gestures which we have to show interest. Then reflect back to listen to her, empathize, I told you, to understand how she feels. Avoid judging words. Like many times you say, oh, you are, आपका बच्चा का weight जो है सही बढ़ रहा है. Are your baby getting normal weight? Are you giving baby normal diet? So she doesn't know what is normal. So judging means the things which are right or wrong or normal or abnormal, she doesn't know. So we don't have to use these words. We can use आप अपने बच्चे को कितना खाना, कितनी डाइट, कितना तरह का खाना खिला रही हैं, कितना थिक खाना खिला रही हैं, how much feed you are giving, how much amount you are giving. So these are the things we should be doing. So these are the listening skills and learning skills. Now I have to now explain. So accept, if she has a myth about anything, we just have to accept in a neutral way. I just, like I said, for the thick food or the non-veg food, they have a myth. It cannot be given so much thick or not, should not be given. So we can just, okay, you feel so, and later on we can give the information. Then we have to, I said, we have to recognize and praise what she's doing. They're correct. Many times we will find she's doing all wrong, but try to recognize where you can praise, because it's a very good skill which will make mother confident in you. Give practical help if she doesn't know how to make a food, or how to hold the baby. If she's having some difficulty, you can help her that way. Now give little information. I said you should give 1 or 2 information one time and check understanding. Give in simple language, the local language where the mother can understand, and also make 1 or 2 suggestions and not command. Command, I told you, we should not order. We should always, if we have to give any message, we should give her, क्या आप अपने बच्चे को 1 कटोरी खाना खिला पाएंगे? क्या आप ऐसा कर सकती हैं? So she might say, नहीं, इतना तो नहीं खाएगा बच्चा, मेरा बच्चा तो आधा कटोरी ही खाता है. So always you can say, okay, then we can start with the half a katori. We will make it, enrich it with ghee or butter, and we will increase the amount day by day. So within a week, I feel if you try, you will be able to increase it. So mother will say, yeah, I will try. That can be possible. So if we say 1 katori has to be given, that becomes the order. So always try to give the suggestion and not the command whenever you are talking to the mother. And that is very important. in the counseling skill. And there is a video in your manual about the counseling, how to counsel for the complementary feeding. And this is a role play. I think you can see it. Jyoti, they can see it later. I am not showing it. So thank you very much. And any questions, you are welcome, please. Hello?
Yeah, ma'am.
So that video I am not showing. If they want, they can see in their module, or should I show a little bit of it?
Yes, it's already on e-learning portal,
Yeah.
so they can go leisurely when they are doing the course, going through the course modules. And your lecture will be actually provided very kind of a background and overview of the complementary feeding practices as well as counseling. So that's I'm very sure it will be very, very helpful.
Thank
So,
you.
in case somebody has questions and you would like to say something or comment something, or you want to type on the chat box, please do so.
You can raise hands. We can unmute you also.
Yes, yes.
Anyone wants to ask? I think आप अब 4-5 चीजें बहुत important हैं जो ध्यान रखने वाली हैं कि हम एक consistency के लिए always thick consistency, diversity, amount, as well how to feed. So whenever you are giving any information to the mother for the complementary feeding, we always say the mother doesn't listen to us. We tell everything. So again, the counseling skills come into picture, because then only how you're talking to them, how you're giving them the messages, you're not ordering, you are not just criticizing them. That helps in making them understand and do the things which are really requirable.
Absolutely right, ma'am. So I think we can close this session now. Thank you so much, ma'am, for
Okay.
joining us today. It is always being a pleasure listening
Thank
to you. And I hope all the participants have also enjoyed this session. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting. And just PFHI, thank you very much for just making this course. And Dr. Jodhpe, you all are really working very hard. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll connect again to you. Thank
Okay.
you so much,
Bye.
ma'am. Nikita, we can close the session now.
Yes, ma'am.